Times they are a-changin'. And as we look ahead to the ever-changing landscape of the SEC, specifically on the gridiron, I think what's interesting, all the chatter has been about Texas. Good, bad, indifferent. It seems like Texas steals a lot of the headlines, a lot of what hosts or shows are out there talking about. Hey, how is the new SEC going to look? And they mention Texas. About 90% of the conversation, it seems, is about the Texas Longhorns. And it makes sense. They just went to the college ball playoff, just had a fantastic season. They've got one of the best head coaches at the helm in Steve Sarkisian. There's a lot of reason to be excited about Texas. But why are we forgetting about Oklahoma? And when it comes to making a splash in the SEC, not just in year one, but beyond, why are we not spending more time talking about the Oklahoma Sooners, which, oh, by the way, beat Texas last year, won double-digit games. And I think there's a lot of reason to be excited, just as excited for what Oklahoma's bringing to the SEC as there is to be excited about what Texas brings to the Southeastern Conference. You look at Oklahoma's 2024 schedule. Again, guys, I think there's a lot of reason to be hyped up and to be amped up and be excited. And I'm not saying, guys, that Oklahoma's going to go out there and go 12-0. They're going to win the national title. But I just don't understand why we do not give them more of the conversation, right? There's a lot of reasons to be excited. Number one, the 2024 schedule is difficult. Make no mistake. Everybody in the SEC has a difficult schedule. Newsflash. But I think OU's schedule sets up really well to generate some early momentum, right? You've got Temple, Houston, Tulane in your first three games. Those are not three cakewalks, but they're all in Norman, and they're all non-conference games. You feel like, okay, as a fan of the Oklahoma Sooners, Oklahoma should win. By the way, first four games of the season are in Norman. You open SEC play against the Tennessee Volunteers, going to be a challenge, but again, it's at home. Your first SEC road game at Auburn. Tricky game. I like the Sooners more than likely in that one. Then you get the bye. Then, of course, you got the Red River rivalry in your first game in October against Texas. Then you got South Carolina at home. Then your first, I would say, the biggest test, right, to this point, at Ole Miss to close out the month of October. Going to be very difficult. Then you've got Maine at home. Then you go to Mizzou. That's another tricky one. Are Ole Miss and Mizzou both going to be what they were this past year? Those games look very daunting now. They may look much differently end of October, beginning of November. Let's just be fair. Then you got a bye week, right? You have to play Alabama, but listen, it's Alabama without Nick Saban, and you get a bye week, and it's at home, right? So who knows what that game looks like? Then you got to close out the season at LSU in Baton Rouge. That will be a fun one. But I think, guys, the schedule, again, we're not talking about going 12-0. 9-3, 10-2, though. I think that's something that Oklahoma can do. I think they can navigate towards that with the schedule they have. Guys, on the field, the Sooners, everybody talks about Quinn Ewers at Texas, right? When we're talking about these two teams coming in, everybody talks about Quinn Ewers. Everybody talks about Arch Manning. We're overlooking arguably one of the up-and-coming stars in college football, at least has the potential to do so. That's Jackson Arnold. Jackson Arnold, who wasn't great in the bowl game, guys, but he was thrust into that situation. And the good news about that bowl game is this, guys. Number one, it's a bowl game. It matters. I'm not telling you it doesn't matter. I'm not in the camp of bowl games don't matter, but it's a bowl game. The beauty of that game is there was a lot of positive in that game. Jackson Arnold made some throws, guys, that you're like, holy smokes. He showed off the legs. He showed off the athleticism. You said, holy smokes. Like, that's why this kid was so highly regarded and so highly recruited. He made some mistakes. The good news is, guys, those mistakes are correctable. I don't think these are mistakes that you look and say, oh my gosh, what is he doing? What is he thinking? He tried to fit some balls in some windows, and it didn't work. I think a full offseason of being QB1 under his belt, I think Jackson Arnold will be primed for a huge 2024 which will obviously spell a big 2024 as well for the entire Oklahoma Sooners football team. On the defensive side, guys, I mean, listen, the defense should be elite under Brent Venables' leadership. I know they lose some guys, but you have your key piece, your top linebacker is back in this season, right? You've got some of your top pieces back on the defensive side. And I know year one was really, really rough, right? And I'm not saying completely discount year one, but when you're taking over in year one, brand new head coach, you got to instill your culture. You got to instill, your way of thinking, if you will. It's not going to resonate with everyone. I think as you see more of Brent Venables guys start to infiltrate the program, you see more of those guys take over, more of those guys show up on the depth chart. I fully believe Brent Venables is going to have Oklahoma playing at an elite level on the defensive side of the football. I mean, guys, we saw it for years at Clemson. I mean, the guy can coach defense. The guy can coach defense. Is he going to be a successful head coach at Oklahoma? Maybe, maybe not, but damn it, he can coach defense. I don't worry about the defense under Brent Venables. I think Sooners fans should be very excited about the defensive side of the football and the prospects of that. And finally, guys, again, as you look at Oklahoma entering this league, this is another program that's helped by Nick Saban's retirement. Make no mistake about it, right? Especially when Oklahoma plays Alabama. Especially when they get the Crimson Tide in Norman. Granted, it's later in the season. Bama might be rolling by then. It's weird to think Bama might be, 7-4 at that point. It's really difficult to grasp that. But even if they are, they're not going to be what they were to Nick Saban. And you get them at Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium. Boy, that's a mouthful when it comes to the home arena. Either way, the bottom line is this. We've spent so much time talking about Texas, hyping up Texas, and that's great. Texas deserves the hype. But as we look ahead to this ever-changing landscape and the new value that's coming to the SEC, why are we not giving just as much attention to the Oklahoma Sooners? A team that, by the way, beat Texas last year. They beat Texas, guys. Why are we not giving Oklahoma the same love, the same attention? Why are we not giving them their roses? Because make no mistake, Texas, and I don't even want to get in the argument who's the bigger brand, but Texas might be more popping right now because they went to the college football playoff. They've got all this momentum, but do not sleep on the Oklahoma Sooners and the force they very well may be in the SEC.